Hey family, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I hope that all is going well with you this evening. I wanted to just jump on for a few minutes to go back and we were to review Genesis 19 and just have some conversation around it. And I wanted to stop in tonight and maybe look through here real quickly. If you have any questions along the way, just throw them in the chat and we'll go back and look at it. No, probably won't, well, not trying to be on for too long because it is late tonight. We do all have to be about our business early in the morning. And I am going to just go ahead and jump right in. We're going to reread Genesis 19. There's a lot of reading. And for those of you who are familiar with Bible stories, it's a very familiar story. It's the story of um, when judgment hits the city of Sodom, Sodom and Gomorrah. We're familiar with those stories, and we're just going to look at what the scriptures tell us. We're not. We might get into some application if we locate principles along the way that we didn't cover in the initial video. If there's anything new, but I just walk back through, and I want to make sure that we don't leave any questions unanswered or issues untouched. And so we're going to go ahead and look at it. So Genesis 19, we're looking at when Lot Lot is rescued from the devastation that comes. Now we know before this we saw the story of Abraham and his intercession on behalf of the city, where he talks to the Father and reasons and petitions for the city to be saved. If there's He starts at 50 and works his way down to 10, and it's where we see the word intercession come into play in Hebrew pagah, and it means to meet with, to confer with, to intercede, intercession, to make intercession. And it's entering into the concerns of another. It's purposefully taking a step outside of your own concerns, because again, the devastation was plotted and planned for Sodom and Gomorrah. And we talked about those cities, Sodom and Amorah, cities who their names are from words that mean, what's going on, Tony D? Are from word. Let me tell you how you inspired me. Let me take a pause for the cause. My brother posted some information about his weight loss today. And I'm really proud of you, bro. Keep up the good work. I'm working. Haven't made it that far. Haven't made it as far as you, but I'm working. I'm pressing my way, hoping to make it through. And so, but we're just going to take our time and walk through this, and we're going to look at the things that are there. We're going to look at what the scriptures tell us, because I know a lot, because of political agendas, personal preferences, and things like that. A lot has been added, I believe, to the telling of this story. When in fact, I think it's helpful for us to look specifically at what the scriptures say, and leave the adding and taking away to those who that's what they do. But again, I want to thank my brother. He's one of the hosts of the Life Be Life and podcast. Check them out. Really good information. And what I love is this life conversations with men. We see a lot of those conversations happening for women, and it's so key. We talked tonight in ministry about the need for us to be willing to step outside of our own concerns, and to not be afraid to intercede on behalf of situations. And but one of the things that we know, that people are going through things and they feel so alone in an area. I just finished watching a really good comedy special by a comedian, Josh Johnson, and in it he talks about some of the issues that men have with the friendships, and how it's difficult for me. Women, we kind of make friends, because we shop the same places, dresses is cute, but there's a level of care and concern that women show in relationships that men aren't always free to do. And um and so, I believe that it's incumbent upon us as believers to not be so stuck in our own concerns, what we're going through, our family, our kids, my four and no more, what's going on between my four walls. Yes, you need to take care of your home. Yes, you need to be responsible for your own. But as a believer, we should also have concern for things outside of our home. We should have concern for the world. We should have concern for the people, like the human part of it. And even in ministry, sometimes recently I went through an experience where I heard some bad news and I immediately honed in on the assignment, but where Ruach HaKodesh, where the Holy Spirit had to really deal with me was you dealt with the assignment part, saw what you needed to see, heard what you needed to hear, prayed what you needed to pray. But what about the human part? And when I was reminded of that, I'm like, man, it can be so easy to get into taking care of things that we forget about the people that we minister to. And so, but Abraham gives us a good example of intercession where he's praying for a city. He's not in the city. Yes, he's got a nephew over there, but he's not in the city. It would make him know it the fire and brimstone that's promised didn't go hit him because he's over here minding his business, having lunch with angels. Okay, he's over here feeding the people. But his relationship with the Lord allows him to see some things that everybody doesn't get to see, to hear and know some things that everybody doesn't get to know. For people who always say, God told me, God showed me, man, some of the stuff that he's showing you, he's not showing you to talk about it and brag about what you think you know. He's showing you because it's your assignment to pray. It's your responsibility to intercede. I'm careful about using the word standing in the gap. I leave that to Jesus because he can handle whatever it is that people have going on. I may not be able to, but I can definitely intercede on your behalf and believe God and stand with you until his good and perfect will manifests in that situation. But standing in the gap, hey, I don't know what lesson the Lord is teaching me. And I don't want to get in the way of that. And I don't think it's necessary or expected. But what is our assignment is to be concerned for those around us and come out of our comfort zones and intercede for people. So, because of that intercession, there is opportunity here for something good to happen. But we'll see that as they went through their day, as we go through this story, we begin to see that it's not that God has to learn what's in the city. He knows what's in the city. He's already sent his messengers he's already sent word that the city was to be destroyed. But what's allowed here is an opportunity for the city to show something different. There's an opportunity. If 10 can be found, if 10 can be found that haven't given in to the ways of the world, that haven't given in to the common culture, who haven't given in to peer pressure, who are standing for righteousness. Yeah, they may be in a city that's got devastation coming, but their hearts are so for the Lord that if there's 10 righteous in the city, remember, they can stand. But we're going to see there's not 10 in Lot's house. So outside of there, my goodness, but we'll see. Because what ends up happening is, like I said, it's not that God has to learn what's in the city. The people are given an opportunity. They're given an opportunity to show what's in their hearts, to show how they feel, to show the reality of things. And in the moment, you'll see they go out of their way to be wicked. So let's go. Genesis 19:1. There came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, looking really similar to what his uncle did. So he's learned something in his time with Abraham. And so he approaches them, and he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. Because remember, their assignment wasn't to come and see Lot. Their assignment was to come and see what's in the city, to come and expose and show what's in the city. Verse 3. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him and entered into his house. And he made them a feast and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Again, he's doing what he's been taught. How many of you know, as parents, a lot of times when it comes down to our children, and we talked about this tonight as well, that sometimes we have to pour into them while we have access. And then it's kind of up to them to walk out what it is their relationship is going to be. It's up to us to trust that the same God that led us, the same God that kept us, the same God that was patient and kind and merciful with us, that same God is able to keep our young people. And if you'll remember, Lot's not just any old nephew. There are portions in their story of their time together where he's spoken of as brethren. There's and when his father dies and Abraham leaves to come out from amongst his family to obey the word of the Lord, Lot's like, I'm not staying here in this dead place. I'm going with you. And so we don't know if it was Lot volunteered or Abraham took him. All we know is that Lot came with him. And so he's learned something though, because he's responding in the same way that Abraham did when he recognized that these were messengers along the route. So, verse 4, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, and it's like, man, this would be perfect if when I press this button and we get to these next verses, we see that their hearts were so open, and their response to these strangers was to be welcoming and embrace them and love on them and, be hospitable. But that's not what's about to happen. It says, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. And I'm going to take a moment to go over here and look at this no, because when I went through the other day, I did not stop at that no. But we're going to look at that no. Let's get this Genesis 18. Genesis 19 is where we are actually. 19:5. Bring them out unto us that we may know them. Yada, to know, using a great variety of senses, figuratively, literally, euphemistically, acknowledge, acquaintance, comprehend, consider, that we may know them, prognosticator. And so people have used a lot of different words here this teaching has been used to make a lot of points, to push a lot of perspective. And I'll read here what the Strong's entry is. And we know Strong's is a concordance. So what Strong's is going to show us is the ways that this word is used, but it's not going to specifically pinpoint exactly this is the reason that this word was used here. But this yada is the exact same yada that's used in the story of when the father Yahweh, when he hears the cry of Yisrael when they are in Egyptian bondage, it's the same no. That yada is the same no. And it's not the yada that, we know from, praise, extend your hand in praise. This yada means to know, properly to ascertain by seeing. And so it's used in a variety of senses, it says, figuratively, literally, euphemistically, and inferentially. And so there are a bunch of different ways that it's been used. Acknowledge, be acquainted with, advise, answer, appoint, be aware of, comprehend, consider, all of those that discern, discover, endue with familiar friendship, fame, feel, can have all of those different meanings of it. Some of those messages that I've heard people say, I haven't heard. But what we do know is that these men were not just trying to do something good, because we see that the men were in danger. And it says, and Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after him and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. So clearly there's some ill intent that was intended. And said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes, only unto these men. So his remedy to them gives us some insight on what he thought was happening there. And so it says, do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. So he's trying to tell them, look, they came to visit me. Don't do what you would normally do. And you'll see they couldn't be reasoned with. As a matter of fact, they turned on him. And the weirdness of him offering his young daughters. So we know already, as we talked about the other day, there's something going on in this family that's a little askew. But we also see the mindset of people concerning women. That's why I'm so grateful for the work that the Lord has done. And when we start to get further and we start to see the laws come into place and the commandments, and really I think it helps us to understand why those laws were necessary. The law is for the lawless. The law isn't there because it's saying, it's approving the way that people have behaved, but what it's doing is bringing order to situations because these kinds of decisions were being made. Or if you're going to abuse somebody, you're going to do something. Here, have my daughter. That's the ways of men. People were doing those things. What they say, the law is for the lawless. Those laws, those instructions, those commandments, those things were put in place because they were necessary in order for a people to be living differently than the people that are in the land. And so here, the Bible isn't okaying offering these daughters. Some books are historical, some books are instructional, some books are poetry, and some are simply history. Here, this is what was done. It's not saying do this, it's not saying treat your daughters like this, but this is what was done. And it's important for us to see that this is what was done. This is the conditions that women were living in. These are the conditions that as a young daughter, it was possible for you to be placed in. And so that's why it's so important that the father, when he calls his people into himself, he gives them a set of rules and regulations that sets them apart from the heathen. That says, if you're my people, behave this way. They already had slaves. People already had slaves. So the Bible isn't okaying slavery. The Bible is simply saying, if you're going to have slaves, then deal with them humanely. Like they're not to remain slaves forever. It didn't okay chattel slavery like what America had. What happened here in America, what our ancestors experienced was something totally different. I know there's Bibles out there talking about that were used, and the word was the used to abuse, and the word was used to put people in a docile state. That's not God's plan for us, but that is how it was used. And so I think it's important for us to push back when things are said, well, the Bible, well, slavery's in the Bible. It is, but it's not encouraged. It's not okayed. It's simply, hey, this is what was there. And if you have them, then treat them this way. And then by the time we make it over to the new covenant, you probably should let them go. But if you have them, treat them this way. So verse 9 says, and they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came into sojourn talking about Lot. Because remember, he's not from here. He lives here, but he's not from here. And so they're saying, look, he came into sojourn. He journeyed here. He's not even one of us. And he thinks he's going to tell us what to do. Isn't that something? To be considered great enough to sit at the gate with the men, to be considered important enough to have, positions of prominence and be able there. But at the end of the day, the people still see you as a sojourner. It was really interesting. I was doing a study a while back and looking at the teaching on adoption. And in the Old Covenant, you don't see adoption. You see people joining in for the journey, sojourners, and you see strangers. It's not until the blood of Christ that we start talking about adoption and becoming a part of the family. And you're no longer strangers, but you actually, through the blood of Christ, you become a part of the family. And so they're telling him, look, this man is just journeying through the land. And he gonna come in here and judge us and tell us what we ought to do. But then too, I think it says something about how we, as people who know better, which ultimately means should do better, but how disconnected we can be with the community. He's offering them something they don't even want. Those men didn't come in there to get men because they wanted girls. They came in to know those men because they wanted to what? Know those men. And he knew that, but he offers them a remedy of righteousness, something that in his mind would be more righteous. It's warped, but in his mind, don't do that. Well, maybe he knew they would turn the daughters down. I don't know. I just think it's awful parenting to offer up your children when you know harm is going to come out of it. I'm just saying. But right here, we see the opportunity was here for the city to show, hey, we're not really a city deserving destruction. But the city shows, yeah, exactly what has reached the eyes and ears of God. What He has seen of us, it's in the heart. It's not just something that if we don't know to not do it, if we don't think to not do it, if we don't sense some imminent danger about doing it, left to our druthers, yeah, we would just be walking in that sin. And so the opportunity was there to show something different, but the heart of the city is revealed here. And so they say, look, this man here is trying in the face of somebody telling you not to do evil. Your heart is still to do evil. Says, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. So him trying to correct them and shun them away from doing something evil caused them to even become angrier. So yeah, the heart of the city is being revealed. The heart of the people is being revealed. And so I know there are some who say, well, how could a loving God do A, B, C, D, E, F, G? But as you see here, the people were a wicked, wicked, wicked. Well, we got wicked people, right? Yeah, but it could be. Have you considered that maybe you're a part of the 10 righteous that keeps the city from being devastated? That maybe you're a part of the 10 righteous that allows mercy to continue to flow? That you being here, doing the good that you know to do, believing in the Lord with all your heart, trusting in Him, praying the way that you pray, walking the walk that you walk. Have you ever considered that maybe you're a part of the 10 righteous? You're a part of the number that the Father looks at and has mercy. And because you're here, for your sake, entire cities are not destroyed. For your sake, for our sake, I believe the mercy of our God is just that good. It says, but the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut to the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides son in law, and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we will destroy this place. Because, and we heard this in 18 when the father was giving Abraham the rundown of what was going on, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord. And we looked at that yesterday, and that word rabab means that it was multiplied by a myriad. So it's not that there was one sin and there was this bad person or there was this pocket of people. No, the wickedness was so rampant in the city that there's not enough why it's easier to take out the ones that should be spared, that will be graced, that will receive mercy and be spared. It's easier just to remove them and be done. And so it says that cry that it's waxing great before the face of Yahweh, before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, now look, the sons-in-laws are out there with the people. So that tells us a few things. That tells us these girls are really, really young, which makes Lot his heart about his daughters makes it even like worse. Because either these daughters are so young that they're just betrothed to these men and not yet married, not yet in a consummated place in their relationship, or they're assigned to men that didn't want them. And so they're still with their father instead of as a betrothed. But of course, we're looking down the line for when the Hebrew culture starts to develop. And so perhaps we're just not at that place yet. But what we do know is these daughters have never, they're young enough to have still been virgins, and they're young enough to have husbands that they don't live with, to be promised in marriage to someone, literally married is what this scripture says, but they're not with their husbands, they're still with their father. So we're getting a good picture of how young these daughters are. They're of childbearing age, because by the end of this story, it gets even worse. Okay? By the end of this story, it gets weirder. Don't think it doesn't. And hold on for 1 second. I am going to switch this out because I don't want to be misleading. For those of you who might be seeing that there was a typo, and I redid these slides with the correction. So let me get this and see if this is the corrected one. Yes, it is. There we go. So I'm going to be accurate since we are recording. All right, let's go back here. So we were at Lot talking to these daughters. That's where they're setting him straight. Here we go. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said, so blindness was brought upon them and they just gave up eventually. But it shows the heart again. They were so determined that it took a supernatural move to get them to stop trying to do what it is they were wanting to do. Verse 12 says, and the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides son-in-law, thy sons, thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place, for we will destroy the place, because of the cry of them is waxing great. Verse 14 says, then Lot went out, spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. So they're so common with the issues of the city, and they're not even taking Lot seriously. Can you imagine life for those daughters? Man, to hear wisdom, and it didn't trigger their hearts at all. So this world is so wicked here that we see even later on when things get even weirder. It's actually understandable. The family dynamic is jacked up. The conditions that these girls have been living in is it's jacked up. It's bad because they're young enough to believe that. Well, we'll talk about that later. So verse 15 says, when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy two daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand and upon the hand of his wife and upon the hand of his two daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. So we already know everything behind us is being destroyed. We're being told to leave, and that everything left behind us is going to be destroyed. And Lot said unto them, oh, now so, my Lord, behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy which thou hast showed unto me, in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? So he's identified a city. They tell him where to go, but he knows he believes he wouldn't make it there. He said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. And so we see that Lot has a covering because of his connection. Because the word comes here, look, we can't do anything until you're out of this city. So we need you to get moving. So the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. So they left in the night. By the time they get where they're going, to this little small city by the name of Zoar, it says, then the Lord rained upon Sodom. Once they had reached a place of safety, then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities that which grew up on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And I've heard some really uh, interesting teachings on this one, where people talked about, she became what she was surrounded by. They were in a very salty land, and we don't know, but think about it. He didn't go to Sodom with a wife, but while he's there in Sodom, he has a wife. So her life is there. What she knew and was accustomed to was there. She's a woman, and if she's been treated in any way like her daughters, she probably had really difficult times there. And so there are a few reasons why she may have looked back. We don't know. It doesn't matter, clearly, because there's no explanation for us of why she looked back. But what we see is the hesitation to run for freedom, the hesitation in her walk brought some devastating consequences. And she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham. Remember, I told you, Lot's covered by the connection, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. I guess his experience said, look, that city wore me out. This city dwelling is not for me. And he and his two daughters lived here in this cave. And what is so important, I think, right now, where we are in the story, and we're about to wrap up, is trauma, devastation, the loss of all they had lost, the husbands that they were supposed to be married to, their mother, the place where they had grown up, even if it had been difficult for them growing up there. It doesn't say they look back. It doesn't say they turned back to check anything. They were told to run and they ran. And of course, they were delivered to a safe place. But it's something what happens and how trauma makes their world so small that they begin to make weird decisions. They've grown up in a weird situation. But the bad experiences, the things that they've been through, made their world feel so small that they start to make some really, really interesting decisions. It says 31, and the firstborn said unto the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. I've been single for a long time, and I know a lot of single women and men. And many times, desperation will cause you to make some really bad decisions. Desperation not seeing a way out, not seeing anything different possible in your future can sometimes cause you to link up with the wrong people, make some bad decisions, make some bad moves. I want to encourage you to hang in there. Don't let desperation have its way with your decision making. Don't get yourself in a bind that you can't get out of. Don't get yourself in a connection that you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to recover from, because we're about to see how this story unfolds. But they're because of what they've been through, because of the things that they've experienced, and because of things that they can clearly see from where they are in Zoar, since they can see the devastation of where they used to be. But that lack of hope for what could be possible, it's completely shadowed by the clear vision of where they've been. And from what they know of the world, all the men in the world are gone except for their dad. So here we go. Verse 32 says, "Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him that we may preserve seed of our father." And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in, lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. You see what I mean? The smallness of their world, the trauma and situations, the experiences that they had, it took they don't have the ability to even hope that, every man in the world isn't gone just because the one that they had is gone, or just because what they see in front of them, that just not even having the knowledge to know, yeah, a few days journey, uh, there's some more men. We don't have to do this. But remember, these are young women who grew up in a wicked town, in a wicked city, with a wicked people. And so it didn't seem strange to them. But again, when we get further and you start to see the laws and the rules and the regulations that are placed on the Hebrews for them to live differently, it's not for nothing. It's because all manner of things were being done and no ill thought. The people around them were doing all kinds of things. And so parameters were set on the lives of those who would belong to the Father and would be his people. So, thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. So, not only is their current situation set up, but we know the people of Moab were an issue for the Hebrews for some time. And the younger, she also bare a son and called his name Ben-Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. So the Ammonites and the Moabites, interesting encounters in the future for the Hebrews there. It says, and they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down. We've already read that. And the firstborn bare a son, got the Moabites, we got the Ammonites, and we are done, 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 done. We're done. So we got an opportunity there. I know there may be a lot of disagreement with some of the things that I said, some of the commentary that I added. I encourage you to reach out because I know that there's different perspectives. I will never believe that the way that I saw it, the way that I see it, the way that I understand it. I'm sure there's other perspectives, answers, angles, things that I don't know, things that I don't understand. You say, well, if you don't know, if you don't think you the only know, unfortunately, a lot of times we end up with bad teaching because we believe we are the only ones with truth. I believe fully what the scriptures tell us. We know in we know in part. Even when it comes down to prophecy, we prophesy in part. But there's going to come a day when we will get to know the truth, not just a truth. And my goal wasn't to push any particular agenda. I wasn't here tonight to talk to you about sodomites. I was here to talk to you about what the scriptures actually say there. And so I'll leave those other teachings to other people. My assignment is let's read these words. Let's read this word and really look at it for the sake of using it to understand how we're to stand today, how we're to walk today. And if nothing else, we saw the Lord will allow an opportunity for us to get to a place where mercy can be shown, for us to get to a place where his goodness, even when we are in the midst of a bad situation. Lot and his daughters are rescued from that city. They don't end up in the destruction. They don't end up getting what was done there. Was it because they were righteous? I don't know. But I do know it says that they remembered Abraham. That's why it's important. That's why your relationship is important. Your relationship with the Father can't save other people, but it definitely can put them in a position to be covered in times of danger. That's why intercession is important. That's why the intercession of a parent has power. That's why the intercession for other people is important. Is our relationship has the ability to affect some change, some possibilities. Yes, ultimately, but when it comes down to salvation, you got to make your own decision. I think I've mentioned to you all before something that I think I heard from a minister. I don't listen to his teachings, but I happened to hear while I was traveling one day, my radio picked up a radio station and he was playing. And rather than silence, I listened to him because he wasn't really somebody that I listened to on a routine. And it was Miles Monroe. And in that message, just as an aside, he said something to be funny, but it stuck with me all these years. God doesn't have any grandchildren, he only has children. So you got to come into that relationship on your own. You've got to make that salvation decision for yourself. But as parents, absolutely, we can pray protection over our children and they be protected. We can trust the Lord for their protection. We can pour into them while we have them. Remember when those men got there, Lot was hospitable, just like Abraham. He recognized that they were people worthy of honor, worthy of respect. I don't know how he might have treated any other strangers, but we know that he recognized that those strangers were different. And we have to believe it's what he learned because he does exactly what Abraham did. He didn't seek to get to know those men the way the men of the city did. He was hospitable to them. He provided a place of protection for them. Their assignment was in the streets, but he opened up his home and his heart. So he learned something. Wasn't enough to keep him every day, though. A lot was messed up with that situation where his daughters were concerned. But don't forget, remember we were back when we were back, and we first came to know of these people. You remember his father died. He ends up with his uncle Abraham. His sister ends up the wife of his uncle. I know we don't like to think the stuff that happened around us impacted us and affected us. It did. It's okay. You don't have to be bound by that. You don't have to be stuck there. But the stuff that we experienced, the stuff that we went through, yeah, if there hasn't been some level of healing on the inside, that's why therapy is important. You grew up in a bad situation, yeah, the Lord's got to deal with your heart so that you don't continue that cycle. Well, we see a lot doing, not excusing his behavior. It's vile to offer up your daughters to a crowd that you know is up to no good. That's terrible. I don't care. That's terrible. but it didn't come from nowhere. Some of your challenges, the things that keep you up at night, the things that make it hard for you to pray, the things that make it difficult for you to develop your relationship with the Lord, the things that make it difficult for you to walk upright, the things that cause you to feel challenges, and the things that keep you from being able to have intimate relationships with the people around you, the things that keep you from being able to develop good friendships, the reasons that, what is it? Nobody in the family can be married. Everybody's been through a divorce. Not making a judgment on anybody, because that's not my seat. But what I can tell you is it's important to identify the stuff that it's just, you got a problem. But then there's also things that, yeah, our comfort level with certain things are what they are because of where we've been. If you've been abused, it's very likely that you'll be abusive. If you've been damaged, it's very likely that you will be a damager. It's likely, but it's not necessary. We can be healed from those decisions. We can be healed from those things in our past. We don't have to continue the cycles of mama and daddy and grandmama and auntie. There might have never been a marriage certificate in your family, but you can be the first. There may have never been a millionaire in your family, but you can be the first. Everybody might have struggled with drugs and alcohol, but you can end it right there. And if you're in a situation where you're waiting on the Lord to deliver you, I pray that you never get into a position like Lot's daughters, where the things that they had experienced had made their life, their world so small that their only vision of a future comes from them having children with their dad. Incest. At the time, I don't know, maybe that was something that was just done. But it sounds to me like devastation, trauma, situations, issues, and circumstances can make your world and your possibilities seem so small that you begin to make desperate moves and make desperate choices that end up being an issue for generations. So I want to encourage you, whatever that may be. I told you, I love prayer. I love prayer assignments. I thank the Father that He trusts us to pray one for another. If you're having difficulty in an area and you just want somebody to stand in agreement with you, you can put something in the comments. You can inbox me. I don't need to know your business. Just, hey sis, just lift me up. I got you. Because I have to do the same thing. Every now and then, you know what? I can get so tired of rehearsing a situation. I don't even want to talk about it. Sis, can you just pray for me? You need people like that around you. So they don't have to know all the intimate details. They just have to have a relationship with the guy who knows all of the details and who is able to do what? Exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. Like I don't have to know what to ask him in order for you to get an answer. I don't have to know specifically what to ask him because what I ask for, he's actually able to do exceeding abundantly above my little request. Because I might be a Lot's daughter who I've been through so much. I don't see no way out for you either, sis. I don't see it for you either, sis. But we've got to be able to do even better than I can pray. So what I can do is stand in agreement with you for his good and perfect will to manifest in your marriage, your relationship with your kids and your finances, whatever it is that is troubling you. I know that it's not, it don't, it just, if you're a believer, especially, it don't have the authority to trouble you. And you don't have the responsibility to carry it. You don't have the responsibility to be burdened down. He says in the word, take my yoke upon you. Come unto me, all ye that are burdened and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Like he's promised us a rest. We're reading Hebrews 3, Hebrews 4. It talks about, there is a rest for the people of God. And I know that we're talking about a rest in the future. But I believe our God to be good enough that I can experience some rest here, and it don't have to be on Shabbat on Saturday, but that I can have rest in my mind and not be troubled by all of the things. I can have rest in my heart and not be burdened down with worry and anxiety and fear over my future. Worried that I'm going to be a statistic, just like worried that I'm going to be a casualty, just like, mm-mm, mm-mm. Father, if I'm a new creature, I don't have to replay old habits. I don't have to battle with the weaknesses that have just continued to perpetuate themselves through our bloodline. Even if you don't believe in generational curses, you have to believe in generational patterns because we see them. So don't argue with people that talk and they know generational curse stuff. It ain't. Da, 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 da. Don't tell me it's not a pattern. And so, what else am I to do but to pray for someone who's dealing with a generational pattern, even if it's not a spirit, even if it's bad decisions? A lot of times people make decisions out of the decisions that they see possible. They don't think it's possible for them, so it's not even something a better choice isn't even what they considered because that's probably possible for somebody else. But if I don't know, if I'm a Lot's daughter and all the people I know are gone, including the men that I was supposed to be married to, including my mama, maybe making what you consider a better decision. And it could be a better decision. But if I'm not even aware that a different decision can be made, because I don't know that I even qualify. Because I know you know people who are in a bad situation and they feel like they deserve to be there. I know you know people in that situation. We all do. That's why it's important for us to pray. Sometimes we may not know what to say. We may not be able to reach into people's situations and actually physically make a change happen, make something different happen for them. But what you can do to at least help make better possibilities is pray for them. Intercede for them. Get out of your comfort zone. I know it's good for you at your address. Now cover somebody else in the spirit. Remember, I told you, Abraham, it wasn't going to rain fire and brimstone where he was. He was good. And got a baby coming with this old lady over here. It was good in the hood for him. But when the Lord shared with him what was happening with that other city, he didn't just say, oh, too bad for them. He made a plea. And he stayed in that plea space. He stayed in that plea space. As long as the Father was there listening, he stayed in that plea space. And that heart, I believe, is the reason that scripture tells us Yahweh remembered Abraham and he held back that destruction in that city until Lot and his daughters were at a safe distance. The wife could have gone, but her vision got clouded by what was happening back there. So I can talk about this all night because I believe in having victory over generational cycles. I don't have no problem with people talking about generational curses because I believe they are to be broken. But don't let somebody convince you to stay in a situation because they don't believe. If you want to be free, trust the Father has freedom for you. So that's why I say, go ahead, drop something in my messages or drop something in the comments. You need people to be in prayer with you. I am blessed to be a part of a praying church. I am blessed to be a part of a community of prayer warriors. I have, Father has blessed me with people who, when I don't have the words to say, and I don't have the strength, He has surrounded me with people who will, hey, look, will ride and will hang in there until they know. We fast for each other. We fast with each other. We stand in agreement with each other. We agree as touching with each other. And we pray until we hear something different happen. We're not better than anybody. It's just consistency has shown. The Father's consistency in coming through is why we stand. So I don't let people who like to argue doctrine and argue denominations and argue those things, I don't let those people change how I pray. I just pray how I pray and let the Father work it out. I don't argue stuff with people. I used to be up for the fight. I'm not. God's been too good to me for me to not at least offer to pray for people. Yeah, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna stand and believe and trust that God is gonna work it all out. So I thank you for your time and attention tonight. If you watched all of it, if you watched a minute, I thank the Lord for you. As you know, this is sort of the beginning stages. So I'm gathering, video content. I am recording these. They are on YouTube, as well as on Facebook for the 30 days that Facebook will let them sit. But they're on YouTube until I go out there and delete them. And I don't plan on deleting because I'm going to be working on some video editing and we're going to take this to another place. There's some things that I've got to meet with my pastor about. Yeah, I'm not out here running renegade. There's some things I have to meet with my pastor about. And once I've done that, we'll be birthing with new name, mission statement, all that good stuff. The Father is faithful and it's time. So we're going to do what we got to do. So you have a good night. I will not be on in the morning. I probably will not be back on until our Friday evening, when we go forth right before the Sabbath. I'm going to be shutting down my social media for the weekend. If I can, my goal is at least for Shabbat. Maybe Sunday I'll be back, but definitely from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. I'm not going to be fooling with y'all out here in social media, just for the sake of my own peace. I have Trump-free weekends when I can. But these last few weekends have been so tumultuous in our nation. And it's interesting that so much of it is happening on Saturdays when people are honoring the Sabbath, leading over into Sunday when those who worship on Sunday are preparing to worship. There's a lot happening on these weekends lately. So we're going to do that. But my plan is to be here tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Tonight was for tomorrow. To be here Friday evening when we will mosey on over to our next chapter. We finished 19 today in Genesis and Bereshit, and we are going to pick up in 20 on Friday leading into Shabbat. I don't know. We might do something crazy. Maybe read a Torah portion or two. Well, how about read a Torah? We might, just just for the sake of doing it. We might do that. We might not. I know people start freaking out when they hear certain words, but we'll let the Lord lead us and see what happens. But I'll see you Friday if the Lord wills, with Yeshua's help. I'll see you on Friday. Have a good night. Again, I want to thank my brother Tony D for stopping in at the very beginning there. Check out his Life Be Life and podcast. Recommend it to your brothers, sons, uncles. Men need safe spaces to talk, and they have created a nice community. Their podcast is even available on Spotify, so you don't have to have Facebook open to watch them. A lot of people can't just be on Facebook while they're at work, but if you can, I know they are on Spotify, so you're able to listen to them while you're working or driving or whatever the case may be. But check them out as well. Have a good night, and I pray sweet dreams, peace over you. If you have to work tonight, I pray that it's so peaceful for you tonight where you're working. especially lifting up those that work in hospitals and nursing homes. I like when my mother was going through her condition, we found out, like, I thought nighttime were peaceful at hospitals and nursing homes. And it wasn't until we were dealing with what we were dealing with that one of the nurses taught me, no, night is when people die, night is when people pass away. And so those are very active hours in those medical facilities. And so we pray for them. We pray for police officers, those that have to be out at night, those that work, especially those that deal with the public at night. People are so different at night. Freaks come out at night. So y'all have a good night. I'm gonna keep talking if I don't shut up. So I'm gone. Y'all have a good night. Bye.